They did. Call this meeting to order.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, I know one is in transit on its way, Amador, and Joanna was supposed to be here, I'm not sure what's going on here, but the other three are present. We will start out tonight with the district treasurer's report. You're first, we were waiting on somebody to come for Dr. Magano's speech.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, wow, I got moved from last to first.
You're up.
Surprise.
No, I'm last. I'm last. Don't get used to it.
What just happened? All right, well, I'm just gonna kind of go over
We're
some
counting on
highlights.
your brevity.
All right, let me get a microphone.
There you go.
Make sure it's on.
All right, there we go.
Like Monty Hall.
Now is it on? Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what I've got on the budget right now. Right now, the budget is in rough draft form. It's very preliminary. The revenues are right, the expenses are right. Exactly how we're going to spend is probably not in its final form at the moment. So, as I had told you last year and at every board meeting since, we have an extremely high tax cap this year. It's something around 15%. So our plan, as it has been since we've said, is to go back to whatever the tax rates were in 1819. So that comes out to 11,785,000. That's an increase of 1.115 in revenue, and that gives us the exact same tax rates as 1819, actually a little bit less. State aid, Cuomo gave us an executive budget that says we're gonna get $200,000 more. We're not, we're gonna get a little bit more. All of that increase was in transportation aid, and it was based on us spending $1.3 million on transportation. We spent about $1 million last year. We're not gonna spend $300,000 more next year, so that number is not something that could be relied on. Other revenues are gonna decrease a bit. What happened is I did not budget in bullet aid. I can't assume that Aileen is gonna keep giving us money. And there's also, we're not gonna get a donation from the compressor station again next year, so that's why that number is down. But in total, the budget is gonna increase 6%. Tax rates will be the same as they were in 1819 under this budget, and the tax rate is 11,785. I won't know the actual state budget numbers until April 1st. That's when the state budget goes in. We don't, again, plan to use any of our fund balance or reserves. No major equipment sales are gonna happen. And again, we're going to revert to 1819 tax rates. The tax cap is actually $12,177,000. So we're gonna come about $400,000 underneath the cap. As promised, we do not intend to levy above the tax rates that were in 1819, so we're not gonna try to get what the cap is. We're gonna stay 400,000 under. State aid, Cuomo's plan, and this is the first year he's actually given that to me in his budget, is to eliminate expense-based aids. So now what those aids are BOCES aid, high-cost aid, and transportation aid. He hasn't eliminated transportation aid yet, but he does plan to eliminate BOCES aid. Now what that means is when you purchase a BOCES expense, normally we get a percentage of that back. That will no longer be the case. Next year what will happen is whatever your BOCES aid is, that is gonna be your new base, and each year thereafter, it's no longer gonna be based on your expenditures, it's just gonna be a percentage. So maybe 1/4%, maybe 2%. So no longer will it be based on expenses. Whether that's gonna go through or not, I don't know. But in the past, it has never been part of the budget that they give me to budget with. So he gave me a state aid estimate. Normally it included BOCES aid. This year he gave it to me. So he might be a little bit more serious about it, I guess is what I'm saying. If that comes to fruition, in the long run, it could hurt the school district because we do rely a lot on BOCES aid, and it's going to cap the growth. BOCES aid has been growing at somewhere between 7 and 8% a year, and he would cap it at around 2%. So that is something to watch. As far as other revenue, I had already talked about. Interest income is going to be flat. We're not getting any bullet aid that I'm aware of. We're not getting any donations that I'm aware of. We are getting an increase in the pilot from the pipeline. The pipeline consists of two parts, the compressor station and the pipeline itself. The pipeline got a pilot, the compressor station didn't. The pilot increased by $50,000, so that was nice. As far as expenses go, in the general category, which is your administrative, your building maintenance, your operations, I did a conservative estimate of 3% overall expenditure increase. There isn't any major changes that I am planning at this point. We're going to buy a little bit of new equipment and replace a small roof, but other than that, there's no major general support expenditures that are occurring. In instructional expenditures, I have a 5% increase. How that's going to get allocated is yet to be determined. There is going to be an implementation of new math program, that's a guarantee. The rest of the money is something that will be discussed between the principals, the superintendent, the board. But I did budget for a 5% increase. Otherwise, it's all contractual increases. And some additional money in special ed, you always have to plan for a surprise placement. Transportation is actually going to get a 6.2% decrease, and that's a direct result of the driver incentives. And another good thing that's happened is the attendance is way up. I have, what I keep for my budget is I keep a 5-year spreadsheet that shows me our past data. And for 4 years straight, we were between $28,000 and $35,000 for our sub-bus drivers. So far this year, we're at $9,000, and we're on pace to do 15, which means our attendance is way up. On top of the fact that I don't have to pay for contracted bus routes. So my transportation budget is going down, and that includes 2 new small vans that are needed because they don't pass DOT inspection. Employee benefits, I always put in a 5% increase because health insurance increases in that range. But right now I have a 7% increase in there until I get my health insurance premiums. I'm thinking they're going to be around 5. In March, this will be fine-tuned, and that money can be allocated elsewhere too. If health insurance comes in at 2%, that's beautiful, and we can allocate the money to different purposes. Our debt service is down 10%, which is great. We paid off our tax cert bond, and we paid off one of the energy performance grants. So that's an extra $150,000 a year that is not going out to loans, that can be allocated elsewhere. As far as transfers go, I have an additional $15,000 going into the cafeteria fund. That is so we can start paying back the general fund. We're more or less break even at this point, but we have this $160,000 accounts payable to the general fund, which is all of our past deficits, because you're not allowed to hold the fund balance in the school anymore. So it's just money owed to the general fund. I'm going to take it out of the general fund and then pay it back to the general fund through the payables. It's really more of an accounting maneuver. But, and then $500,000 will go into a tax cert reserve. I'm not positive if they're going to fight their assessment. Their assessment is at $87 million right now. If they do fight it, I would like to have the money without going out to bond to pay it back. I don't know how many years we should put $500,000 in, but at least for 3 or 4 years, you should save up a good $2 million in case of a tax cert case. The Myron one was around $1.5 million. It was a similar deal. They were a power plant, so it wouldn't be an unusual move for a power plant that got assessed high to fight it. And of course, it's a balanced budget, so our overall expenditures will go up 5.91%. And that's all I have on the budget at the moment.
Good job.
Any questions?
Very good, like always, Caleb.
No questions? All right. Outstanding.
Yep. Superintendent's report.
Well, tonight is a special night. It's the first time we're going to be giving people the AOK Award, Act of Kindness. We thought it's about time we focus on the positive, and the positive overwhelms the negative in this school district, and it's time that we acknowledge that. If you look at our website, you'll see a list of all of the initiatives and activities that occur that are positive, and including the AOK Award. So we're going to start tonight, and I have to thank my secretary, Lisa, who developed these fine awards, because they look very, very special, and it is very special. So the first person to receive the award is Sean D'Amico. And you get a free ice cream with us. Is from Mr. Monteleone. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And let me share with you, you want to share why you nominated him?
Sure. I nominated Sean because when we were at the George Ross Mackenzie Academic Awards, he went up and he gave a high five to one of the students that had received an award. I thought that was really sweet.
That's
Way to,
very
way to
nice.
encourage your friend, honey.
Good job. Thank you. The next person is someone I nominated, Brenda Nibbs. Brenda came to our DASA workshop for parents on her day off and represented the students. And you were the only student there, and you represented them very well. Thank you, Brenda. The next two people aren't here. Laura DeSantis, who did our DASA workshop. DASA is very important, but 6 hours of it can be taxing, and Lorna did it expertly, and we're going to bring Lorna back to do a workshop for our students on DASA. Lorna acknowledged that we were the only school in New York State that she knows of that trained every single member of their staff, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, teachers, everybody. And the next certificate is for Lou Monteleone. Lou is going to provide ice cream to each winner that are students, not the adults. And he often contributes, as Bonnie has shared with me, food and other things for the senior class. And these are things that he does without looking for acknowledgement. I frankly didn't even know that he did all that until Bonnie shared it with me. And this award is for Lou. I mentioned what we did on conference day with the DASA workshop, and we did train every employee. The only people that weren't in attendance, you folks, you don't have to stay and listen to the rest of my boring report. Thank you, and good work. Keep it up. Good job. Remember, you were the first, Sean. You were the first. We trained everyone in the school district, and including we offered a workshop for parents, and we're going to do the same thing with all of our students at the in the school district. And I think she'll be here in March. I forget the date. 16th. What day? 16th? The calendar has been revised for the last time, folks. There was some discussion with the faculty about taking a couple of days from December and putting them into the spring break, and I think this represents everyone's wishes now.
Amador. Everybody is present for the record.
Certainly.
Eldred is a targeted school district for academic improvement. And I'm going to share with you why we are a targeted school district. We're in the same category as Fallsburg, Liberty, Livingston Manor, Monticello, and Roscoe. For us, we're targeted because in grades 7 and 8, the economically disadvantaged, another subgroup of the 7 and 8, so we're talking about 4 or 5 students, did not do well on the state test. So they don't put that in the newspaper. They put that you're a targeted school district. But we know where we have to provide increased assistance, and it's one of the reasons why in this summer we're going to offer summer school to grades 7 through 9 here for ELA and math. And we're doing other things during the year because we know who those students are and we're working with them. The elementary code of conduct, I met with the elementary staff today. We talked about student behaviors and potential consequences and actions. I spoke to them about functional behavior, and when we act in a certain way, we act to get a need met. And sometimes it's power, attention, revenge, display of inadequacy. And in order to address those needs, some students will act in an inappropriate way, for example, for attention. And I give the example of when I worked in another school district. We had a third grader that would body slam the kindergartners against the wall. And we suspended him, we called the parents, we gave him detention. Not until we had him read to the kindergartners on a daily basis did his behavior stop. Because he got the attention he needed, and you don't body slam kids who you just read to. So that's functional behavior in a nutshell. And while we can address negative behaviors and deal with it in punishment, you don't correct behavior by punishment. You suppress negative behavior. The only way to change negative behavior is by positive reinforcement. So when you got your last speeding ticket, you probably went out and bought a better radar detector. But if a cop pulled you over and said, you know, you're the only one doing 60 and everybody else is whizzing by at 80, here's a check for $1,000 from the state of New York, I guarantee you, you wouldn't speed the next day. But we often focus on the punishment and not on changing behavior. The math visits to NIAC, we had one math visit. We had to postpone another one because there was a death at the school district where we were going to visit. The principals will speak more about it, but we're looking to other school districts for ideas for addressing our math needs. And NIAC is a district that Tracy has some connections with, and we were able to have a secondary visit the other day. She'll talk more about that. I want to acknowledge Lisa's work in developing this brochure. It's updated, it's on quality paper. She typed it, she edited it, she printed it, she folded it, and that's why we have it. And it's an excellent thing to put in businesses and other places to advertise our school district for what it is.
Good job, Lisa.
We were in school scene. I think there's copies on the table you can take. They accurately portrayed our school and focus on the positives. Lisa also sent and developed this postcard for preschool enrollment. And these are the things that we used to have BOCES do that Lisa now does in-house. And thank you, Lisa. It's great work.
At a savings of
I was
$13,000,
gonna say-
I might add.
That is a savings.
Say
right?
that again?
At a savings of $13,000,
Oh,
I
yeah,
might add.
right.
And it's a better product. And it's cheaper. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Elementary principal report.
Okay, what do we have for you? I had a couple of things. I want to recognize our spelling bee participants. Some of them came over to, or went over to the junior senior high school the other day. They were Leanna Mullen, Matthew Merrill, Marissa Gotchenauer, and Jillian Smith. They participated in the spelling bee, and we have one of our students that's moving on into the competition, Marissa Gotchenauer. So that's going to take place, I think, next weekend or 2 weekends from now.
I was there for that. I'm
Great.
glad they didn't ask me to spell it.
We are beginning at the end of this month, February 26th, every Wednesday at the junior, senior, or at the elementary school. We're going to have our theater arts program in the school, which will be beginning again this year. So Tanis Kowalchuk is going to be participating in that, and she's coming in and with our 6th graders in this building, and she'll be also going up to the junior, senior high school for a number of classes there also. March 2nd through 6th, cards went out. Thank you, Lisa, for putting them together. For our pre-K and kindergarten, our open registration will be taking place. So most of the parents have now contacted our school, and we'll have them come in and complete the rest of the paperwork between that period of time. If we have more than 18 students, as always, we would have a lottery for the students for our pre-K program and our kindergarten program. Right now, we've only had three other parents that have expressed interest outside of those that are already in our pre-K program. So that's our number. I know that we did a projection of our attendance for the next number of years. So we're hoping that that projection is where it was listed in our rates for next year. Our kindergarten, they suggested that we had 32, I believe, in our kindergarten program for this upcoming school year. And right now we have 25 in our kindergarten program. So that 25 is moving to first grade next year. We have a Music in Our Schools month. Our concert will be held on March 11th. And I'd really like to thank our PTA. They're doing a great job. They have a Someone Special dance for our grades 3 through 6 upcoming on February 21st, where there is one child and one adult, someone special that can come to the dance. And also they've put forth a couple of things. The other day we had an avocado tasting day in the cafeteria. And they're also reached out to ShopRite, and we're going to have a registered dietitian come in and do some mini presentations for our students in our school to talk about eating healthy and the type of foods, and we'll do that for each of our classes. And that's coming up on February 20th. That's all I have to share with you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Secondary principal report.
All right, I've got a couple of things. We had, with the spelling bee that Scott mentioned, we have 4 students that are also attending the Tri-State Regional B, and that is Parks McGrail, Caden Rickle, Cooper Stutz, and Sebastian Corchado. So they did a great job. I got some pictures up there. We put them on Facebook. They spoke some words that were impressive by the end of the round, so it was nice to see. Another thing that we have done is absence management. Absence management went live. We have trained the substitutes, thank you Lisa and Heather, because they led the training. They got the information together and videos and everything else. So all substitutes and teachers have been trained on this new management system. It is part of that frontline suite that works with schools, and basically if you were going to be absent, the teacher would call in, it assigns subs. The subs are also contacted. And so we have gone live with that, and relatively I think it's been a smooth transition. The teachers are getting used to it, the subs are getting used to it. We've only had one hiccup, and that's with the app. And that's because the app is so new that even Frontline is having problems with the app. So that's the only hiccup that I've seen. Let's see, February 3rd, we actually did our second quarter, first semester attendance and academic awards. So we made, the kids got to come listen to me speak a little bit, and Dr. Morgana was there. We handed out academic awards, but this go around we also added attendance awards. So we had 5 students that had perfect attendance for the first semester. So they got certificates. So again, if you're in school, you are there to learn, and that helps with the academic piece.
And I think the change that you made in doing it as a separate event, not in the cafeteria during lunch, acknowledges the importance of that academic award. It used to be done during lunch, trying to talk over all the noise. Now we bring them into the gym, and it is an academic event. Good call.
Thank you. And I think the kids I think enjoy seeing each other get the accolades, because they do clap and they celebrate each other's good fortune. Snowball dance, it was a success. For me, it was the first time at a dance here in Eldred. And I have to say a huge thank you to Miss Padua and Miss Messina for organizing it. Definitely could not have done it without them, but they, along with help from parents, Mr. and Miss Stutz, they did an amazing job for decorating. Local businesses, we had Lynn and Joe's Pizza in Port Jervis, we had Back to Bakers in Berryville, The Corner in Eldred, El Castello in Berryville, and Conrad's Kitchen and Grill in Huon. They all donated. Like, there was so much food. The kids ate and ate and ate. And then we also had, Miss Rumsey was taking pictures, Miss Druitt was there, Miss Peckus, Miss Nibbs. Again, we had parents chaperoning. Mr. Epsey did an amazing job as DJ. I think a good time was had by all. So it was a nice day, even though the weather was not fun to begin with. The NIAC math visit, yes, we went yesterday. I took myself and sixth grade teacher, and we also had Stephanie Zubb, Stephanie Riccardi, Jason Jennings. They went with me. We started off at the middle school. We ended our day at the high school. And it was interesting for myself, since I taught in the district for 17 years, to actually see the district with new eyes. And they actually were telling me today how much they enjoyed the trip. All the resources, electronic resources they got, just to see another school setting as far as the middle school flexible setting. The Nyack Middle School does not have desks. They all have flexible seating and tables, so it's interesting to see that from another perspective. They also have, a different way to look at AIS, remediation support services for our kids, and also their course progression going from middle school to high school to ensure that our kids in the 11th and 12th grade are taking these college challenging classes. So I think it was a good time was had by all, and they got a lot of stuff. They were talking about it today, so that makes me feel good. Summer school, Dr. Morgana mentioned the summer school info, so we are moving forward with that, and also along with that, August Regents will be given here in district on the 13th and 14th of August. The way I look at it is if a child scores, even if they score well on the August, if they want to in June, and they want to retake it in August for mastery, they have the ability to do so. It's a quick turnaround time. And that also for even our children that do not perform well in the Regents, they have that opportunity. So not only are we doing summer school, but we are also offering the August Regents. And the last thing I have is just some upcoming important dates. March 5th, we got the Global Fair, and that's done by Mr. Glantz and Mr. Varley, I do believe, and that's a big event.
It is a big event, and it's wonderful.
I'm excited for that. March 6th, we're having all county music. That's the festival there. And then March 20th, Ms. Guerin is putting together a career pathways fair. So it is looking at different careers. You're not, you don't have to go to college. So we're going to have a lot of people in from the trades, vocation. I've even convinced my husband to come in because he does heavy duty equipment repair and he works for public transportation. So he has agreed to come in and talk to kids. The fact that trade school and VOTEC and BOCES are wonderful opportunities. So, and that's it, what I have for the high school.
Thank you. Any questions for her?
I do. The blood drive, has that been rescheduled?
I have not gotten the new dates. Ms. Ross is working on new dates.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, did anybody have any questions for Mr. Krebs when he got done? Okay. Moving on to the student report.
Thank you. So we did a Super Bowl, and that was to help the backpack program. We got 100 cans from the senior class alone, and they ended up winning the competition. PBIS actually rewarded the senior class via ice cream and brownies at lunch, which was pretty nice and pretty encouraging because, like, obviously it's a good thing to give back, especially to the backpack program. Going further with what they were talking about with math, I'm actually president of the Math Honor Society, Mu Alpha Theta, and every Tuesday they have tutoring held after school, so anyone that needs it, regardless of their education level or how good or bad they are, can come in for help, and there's always people there to help them. It's usually held in Ms. Zubb's room. If not, there's a note on her door saying where they can go. As for sports, winter track, Jackson Stutt, CJ Sickmiller, Matt Dunker, and Matt Dutcher have a section meet this Saturday. Matt Dutcher is working hard to break the school record in shot put. He's only 3 inches off, which is pretty great. And then wrestling. The wrestling team will be competing at Ulster County Community College in their section meet this Sunday. Hunter Roberts, Caitlin Potter, Joey Carreri, Matthew Junker, and Patrick Adams are representing Eldred. Fundraisers, we have some fundraisers going on. The senior class is embarking on their final fundraiser of the year, which is pretty great because Ms. Padua, she's an awesome advisor, and she's been working really hard all year to get us where we need to be so that we can go on our senior trip, so that we can have a nice senior dinner and just finish off our high school career good. We really appreciate you, Ms. Padua. We are going to be selling kitchen goods that consists of various things for the kitchen. So I encourage you to check that out. The 7th grade is actually doing a fundraiser on reusable bags, which I personally think is very cool because come March, single-use plastic bags are going to be illegal in the state of New York. So I think that's actually a very important and relevant fundraiser. Moving on, in our government class, Mr. Varley registered all the seniors to vote. He's taught them all about the voting process, and their forms will be sent to the county government center, which is awesome because that is real world, and I don't know if all schools do that, but ours does, which I think is awesome. And that's the conclusion of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. This is my turn. Go right ahead.
Blood drive. Lisa had the date.
Oh, nice.
So blood drive is March 17th, 2 to 7 p.m. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah.
So I'll start my report with an email that I received from Brian Niverson about music. I'm just going to read the email. It's going to be easier for me instead of stumbling over my words. We had 8 students perform at the Marywood University Wind Festival in January. They were among over 300 students from 30 regional high schools across PA. Port Jervis and Eldred were the only New York schools. The students each auditioned for seating placements in one of 3 assembles. 2 students in particular earned placement in the top honor band conducted by the commander of the United States Air Force Band in D.C. Colonel Donald Schofield, and if I pronounce something wrong, please correct me. The 2 students were Owen Anderson, trombone, and Donald Mearden in baritone. Donald also had the distinction of sitting in the first chair as he surpassed all other baritone players in the audition. I have attached a thank you message from the Colonial Schofield below. There were schools much larger than us, such as Port Jervis, who did not have any students earn placement in the assembled. Delaware Valley across the border had 3 students, so to be right on their tail in saying a lot. The other students who participated in the festival were Mackenzie Simonson, Annie Davis, Kylie Kuhn, Mudra Pantel, Jaden Reed, and Mariel O'Connor. We are preparing for the upcoming annual All-County Festival on March 6th and 7th to be held at the Tri-Valley CSD. I'm pleased to announce that once again, Eldred will be represented in every performance assembly. Mrs. Schultz and I have 18 students from George Ross Mackenzie and 25 from the junior senior high school who have been selected to perform in the elementary chorus, middle school band, middle school mixed chorus, middle school treble chorus, corps, junior high jazz, assemble senior high string assemble, and senior high concert band. The only other school districts in the county that can claim this same distinction are Liberty and Monticello. On another recognizable note, Kylie Kuhn, bass clarinet, has earned the top chair in the county with the senior high school band. It's pretty good. It's not pretty good, it's very good. Now that I got through that. I said I'd have some hard numbers for the cafeteria because we talked about numbers last month. September 30th, 19 to January 31st, 2020. Breakfast, 17,771 meals. Lunch, 14,693. Grand total of 32,734. That's out of this building. So the program's working. The only thing I have tonight is that I will be reaching out to the Senior Citizens Building And Caleb and myself and Dr. Morgano will be visiting with them and explaining the budget so that they understand exactly what we're doing. I've reached out to the Highland already. I spoke to the president, told her that I will be reaching out to her to set up the date, and I'll be reaching out to Mrs. Hocker, who's in charge of Lumberland, and we did this last year.
We'll
and
also
it-
do another Saturday.
And we're also gonna do another Saturday. I guess we should come up with that date by the next meeting. So we'll have a date on the next meeting, what Saturday we'll be sitting here, Dr. Morgana and I can look at one another for 6 hours. That's all I have. I just want to thank Lisa for all her hard work that she does do, and she helps me a lot, believe me. Text her at 8, 9 o'clock at night, she answers me. So, all right, moving on. Public comment on the consent agenda items only. No public comment? Moving forward, approval of the minutes. All right, hold on. So has everybody had a chance to look at everything here? Board members, wise? Everybody's good with everything? So then I'm gonna need a motion to approve consent items 4.01 through 7.04.
I make the motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion moved. Anybody have any old business? Old business? Does anybody have any new business?
I have new business. It is with an incredibly heavy heart that I am, this is very hard. I've wanted to be on the school board for a long time, and being on the school board has been amazing, but I will not be seeking re-election. I know that my term is up at the end of this school year, but due to recent personal issues, getting a little emotional, I'm not able to be on the school board anymore. I'll finish out the year, as that's the plan, but I will not be seeking re-election, and that's very hard for me. I love this school, I love this district, I love the kids, and I just ask that if you or someone that you know wants to run for the school board, just keep in mind all the work that's been done and how far we've come from where we were, and that we work as a team, and that we are all in this for the same reason, and that if you get to sit at this table, you are very, very lucky. And you get to make a lot of wonderful decisions for the students and for the community, for the faculty, and for the staff. And it was a blessing of 2 years to be on this school board, so thank you.
Thank you for everything you've done. All right, second public comment. Anybody have any public comment? Go ahead.
The licensing, I know we were trying to bring things in-house as much as possible, and Lisa took on a lot of stuff, but now with this new ruling, the new cap, is that going to hurt us in the long run when we try to pull things in-house?
I
No,
don't see how.
no, it actually it's gonna have the opposite effect. It's gonna kind of make you bring more stuff in-house because it won't be expense-based anymore.
I can see bringing it more in-house in the future, but we've kind of lowered our base amount there.
We could raise it beforehand. I could buy equipment that we need. Well, you know, if you're buying, like, say, we have to replace X amount of laptops each year, and I plan to do 10 next year, I'll buy 10 this year.
Whenever we
Bring
took
my
back
base
a BOCES service, it was economically advantageous for us to do so. What I like is the quality of the product is better than it was. So it's cheaper and better, and you can't beat that.
And I also don't actually expect that to go through, but he seems a little more serious this year.
If that happens, it'll change the nature of BOCES. BOCES will revert back to what it was in the 70s when I worked at BOCES. It'll be a special ed services and vocational ed, and the ancillary services will be minimal because there'll be no economic advantage to using it. But like Caleb said, I think this is a governance shot across the bow, and it may come to fruition in the future, but I don't think it'll happen this year.
And we have talked to legislators that think the same thing. Called just to say that, you know, what do you think is gonna go on? And they think it's posturing for him to get something he wants out of something else, but I always warn, tell the board, let them know this might happen. If it does happen, we need to plan accordingly.
About a year and a half ago, we were talking about keeping the debt service level even, where we're not. When one went off the cliff, we were going to continue it to keep our aid up for capital improvements and such.
Well, there's a big bond coming off when?
A very large bond is coming off in 4 years or 5 years. I don't remember exactly which one, I'll be honest, but before 5 years is up, there's a large one coming off.
That would have a significant impact on our tax rate if we didn't replace it, right?
Yeah, and this one had a little bit of fortunate timing that the compressor station, we had such a large cap this year. So it's not quite as destructive as it would be if you had a 2% cap and they took a big chunk out. I mean, our cap this year is I set it up there, it was like 15.9%, it's like 12,177,000. And we agreed that we wouldn't go above what would cause the rates to go higher than 18, 19. So I can't even come close to that cap. So if you lost 100,000 off of it, then my cap would be 12.2 million instead of 12.1 million. And I'm not going near it anyway. So that was actually just a stroke of luck.
But you're right,
That
there
worked
is
out
a
that
need
way.
to replace large debt when it comes off, because it's economically advantageous with regard to the tax cap, right?
Also, usually there's that, and also usually it was used to put in some kind of infrastructure 10 years ago, which means that the infrastructure is probably due to be replaced at that point. So that's the other thing. Usually you took out a bond for a reason, and so like this one that's gonna come up in 5 years is a 20-year bond. That means all of the stuff it was used for was done 20 years ago, and you might need a new roof, you might need that kind of stuff might come up. So it's also good, it's as part of a replacement plan.
Any other questions from anybody else?
Last one.
If you want to make an appointment to sit down and talk to them, that would be,
I'd rather do it.
that would be a good time to do that,
I'd
make an
rather do it
appointment.
in public.
You have one more question?
No, I'll ask as many as I want.
Mhm. I'll make a motion to adjourn into executive session.
Really? Is that what you're gonna do?
Oh, I'm not going to sit here and have debates and stuff. You can ask one more question.
No, never mind. I think you're out of line doing that. This is a public forum.
I'm not sitting here and having debates. They're always willing to sit and talk in.
A public forum. Do you understand what that means? A public meeting? And in fact, let me ask one more question.
It's a meeting for the public.
Let me ask one more question. When do people talk to each other? I have never seen a board where people do not talk to each other. So obviously, Joanna, thank you for your service. You said you've gotten a lot done, but I've never seen any discussion. When do you discuss these items?
Just the items on I talk to the board members all the time. I'm in contact with the board members daily. Stacy, Joanna, or Kristen?
On an individual basis?
It has to
Because
be on an
if three of
individual
you are
basis.
It has, it is on, it is on,
has
it
to be
is on
on
the
an
individual
individual
basis.
basis.
Yes, I speak with Dr. Morgano several times during the day.
Dr. Morgano's not on the board.
He's
We don't
not.
ever meet more than on an individual basis.
He's
but
not
then
on
it
the
would be a
board.
quorum.
But I think communication is very big. I think a lack of communication may have been where we were at a few years ago.
Well, you never know from a meeting that there's communication going on.
Well, that's
There's a lot of
because it's a
communication
meeting.
going on.
Mrs. Wade, it's a meeting being
Well-
held.
It's a meeting where you're supposed to be discussing things so that the public understands what's going on. So not only do you not discuss it in public, but you're shutting me down.
I'm not shutting you down.
Yes, you are. You said one more question. I have three.
This is a public meeting, not just for somebody to question everything that's going on.
What was
If you
illegitimate
want to
about
have a
the question?
certain discussion about a lot of things, they're willing to sit with you and discuss it.
And we're all here. Why don't we, for the handful of us that are here, that care, you won't let us hear it?
Go ahead, ask your questions.
Okay, thank you. The transportation, a couple of years ago, you said after a few years we were going to look into whether we're going to continue the leasing arrangement.
Yep. That is going to occur, we said, on the third year, which is actually this upcoming year. So I'm gonna have to start evaluating, getting in contact with leasing companies and pricing out what it would cost if we did new buses, if we went that route. I don't,
Foregone conclusion that we'll be leasing them.
I think there's a good chance, yeah, it seems to be working out well.
And on the target for academic improvement, what period of time were they looking at for that need for improvement?
You have to show gains in 2 consecutive years. So, right now, we need to make an improvement. This year's state test will be the first year, and next year's state test will be the second year.
So this was based on the
2 years, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
18, 19?
You have to have 2 years in a row in the same subcategory of deficit. So for 2 years, our 7th and 8th grade economically disadvantaged subgroup didn't do as well as they should have. And a part of that is our initiative to have more kids take the test. Because a few years ago, it was much lower. Now we're above 95%. So we're getting a true measure now, where before we didn't really get it. So this need probably existed for longer than a couple of years. And addressing it now with academic intervention, as well as in the summer, providing academic support, I think will take care of that need.
But it was the 18, 19 school year that
The
they
two
were
of them,
looking
17, 18, 18, 19.
Yeah, it's 2 years in a row.
Can I add something to that, please?
Sure.
So, I know we're only Eldred, we're talking about Eldred right now, but every school district in Sullivan County was cited for that economically disadvantaged.
at? He said that.
Yeah, and, but 17 other counties had the same citing in New York State. So, I mean, the fact that we're jumping on it is wonderful. I think summer school would be great and such like that, but.
Well, because you'll have kids that'll come that wouldn't go up to Liberty.
Right, exactly, exactly. So I think that that is a definite positive. I'm very glad to hear that we're doing that.
And how many kindergarten classes are in session? Is it 1 or 2?
We have one kindergarten teacher and a teacher assistant that also helps out the class.
That wasn't so hard, was it?
Go ahead.
Kelly Robertson, I teach first grade here at Mackenzie. I know this is really last minute, but if you are free tomorrow morning from 8:15 to 9:45, we're doing lemonade with loved ones in the cafeteria. We're having pre-K and kindergarten go first from 8:45 to 9:15, and then first and second grade goes from 9:15 to 9:45. So if anyone is free, you want to stop by, lemonade with loved ones.
I'll be there as long as Caleb drives me over.
I'll be there
Miss
to make sure I
Robinson,
get
what
into
time
school
is
on
that?
time tomorrow.
You get lemonade.
Pre-K and kindergarten is 8:45 to 9:15. Then we're switching the first grade through second grade from 9:15 to 9:45. So we have lemonade, some crafts, and a little photo booth if you're interested.
Oh, so cute.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Need a motion to enter into, yep, go ahead.
Any information on prom yet?
Prom.
Prom. I do know that we have the kids and Ms. Stringer, I signed it this morning, a contract with Manor.
Yes.
What's the full name of it? Because that's.
No. The manor that's like right down the street from here.
It's in Gled's Bay. It's,
Oh, Mountain View.
Thank you.
Mountain View on the high
Mountain
road.
View Manor.
I was drawing a blank, so Mountain
I
View
did too.
Manor.
I was embarrassed.
So they have picked out their menu, we've signed the contracts, and that is what I have dealt with today. As far as the date, I know it's in May. I can look real quick.
And I have
Have
to
it.
tell you, the prior principal and I danced at the last prom, so
I can't guarantee dancing. Not for me.
you better get your dancing shoes.
you can talk my son
May
into
16th.
going.
May 16th will be the date of the prom.
Can I end on a positive note? I think that you should add, for your fundraiser, teaching people how to tread water. Miss Kaylee Mohan got this old lady to tread water, and I would pay $1,000 well, not really, but $50 a pop. She's gonna get me to swim in the deep end. I'm very
Thanks,
excited.
of course. Thanks.
Anybody else?
I'd just like to add, about the prom, we try, hard now to keep it local every year and give it to a local business. Prior to the last couple of years, we were going to Woodlawn, we were going to Middletown. So our new initiative at the district is to support our local businesses and have our prom locally. So we did that last year, we had a Catskill Mountain Resort, and it was amazing. And this year, we're moving somewhere else, and next year maybe back to Catskill Mountain. We just want to stay local with it.
That's
Hopefully in the
wonderful.
future, the reserve will be open.
Yeah.
There's not a lot, that's tough to do around here, is to try to keep it in-house with big parties, but
Mountain View
There's a-
Manor does a lovely job at that.
there's a few places though. Anybody else? I need a motion to enter into executive session
I make that
for
motion.
personnel, and there'll be no decisions afterwards.
I'll second.
Motion by Joanna, second by Ahmed.